Hey, this is David Bublitz. I'm back doing another review for Fosi Audio. This one is for the Box X4. This is a preamp. It's designed to be used primarily with turntables. I'm not sure what else you might be able to come up with for that, but most people are going to be using it with a turntable. If you're using a moving magnet cartridge, this is perfect for that. If you have a moving coil cartridge, you would need to have a high output cartridge in order for this to work with that. If you don't know what yours is, you more than likely have a moving magnet cartridge. Moving coils are going to be a very expensive, kind of higher end model, so chances are if you don't know what it is, you probably didn't spring for that. These are typically going to be used for people with either older turntables or newer ones that don't have a phono amplifier built in, or if it has a phono amplifier built in and you can switch that off, you can also use this as well. It is a tube amp, so it is hopefully going to provide a little bit more depth, a little bit more warmth than what you would get from just a regular phono amp that's built in. Also, typically you would be using this with an amplifier afterwards to go to passive speakers that don't have their own power, or you can hook it directly to speakers that have their own power. Yeah, let's go ahead and get this open. Already got the tape on it. So typical Fosi package so far. Looks really nice. Got the instructions there. I might get into those later if I run into something, but looks like we've got the unit here, power supply, and those are the tubes right there. So, I mean, right away it feels like it's got some weight to it. Nice click for the dials there, or dial. Got your headphone output there if you want to use this straight with headphones, so you don't have to have speakers or an amplifier to go along with this. Of course, you can adjust treble, bass. The knobs on this are really nice. I did a review on the K5 Pro Gaming DAC, this right here. I will say I think the buttons on this one, or the dials on this one, I think are a little bit nicer. The knurling on them is a little bit nicer. Then in the back here we've got your DC in. This is where you plug it into power. Line in, so you can do a line out from just like a headphone port or mini stereo plug. You've also got your output. This would go to either an amplifier or to active speakers that have their own amplifier built in. And this is where the turntable connects. Now, if you're not familiar, turntables have a ground plug that typically is in the back, and they would connect to this. It just kind of keeps some of the interference down. You may not have that on your turntable. If you don't panic. If you don't, you may not need it. But if you have it, then I would certainly connect to this. This is kind of neat. It's just spring loaded. I'll see if I can get that on there. So you just push it in, push the wire in, pull it out. If you have a spade type connector, you probably would need to cut that off to use this. So right away, this is where the tubes will plug in. We'll get to that in a minute. I am noticing that there's actually LEDs in there. I am a little skeptical anytime I see an amp that has LEDs because tubes should light on their own. So right away, that does tell me that this is not using, I would say, every function of the tube. Now, they certainly will make a difference in the sound. Anything you put basically between the record and your ears makes a difference. So we're still looking for a little bit of that in this. The reason that I point that out, though, is, if you're looking at a higher end amp, if you're looking at something in the $1,000 range or $2,000, even $5,000, you're just not going to see that. You're going to see a lot more, or I would say a lot less of that in those systems because they are relying mostly on the tubes. Those are for more expensive ones, so I'm not totally shocked at the price range on this unit to see that. But yeah, let's go ahead. Scoot this out of the way. Whenever you're putting tubes in, you always want to make sure to wear gloves. The reason for that, you don't want to get oils on your fingers and stuff that are on your fingers onto the tubes. Just doing that, you know, it, for one thing, looks terrible. It can kind of burn on there, but it does affect performance over time and can degrade the tubes. So let's get into this. This is what we're here for. Alright, so you want to look at the configuration of the plug there. You've got kind of a little space there where it's essentially missing a prong. So you want to find that spot in there where it's got the gap there and push that in. Sometimes these can be a bit tricky to get in place. You have to push harder than maybe you'd like to for what you're doing, you know, pushing on a glass tube. Let me see, I think that is going to be the case here as well. If I can get it lined up right. You can also change these tubes, you know, if you decide, let's try that in the other one. If you decide that you want to change the sound, you can mess around with the tubes. Like I said before, anything between the record and your ears changes it. So, you know, just changing the tubes out with a different type can certainly change the way that that sounds. Okay, so I cut the video so I could figure it out. Basically, it is a little bit tighter than what I would like, although pretty typical of a new amp. The way I got it in is, like I said before, just kind of line up the holes there. And once you feel like you've got it lined up, just kind of jiggle it back and forth. Those pins are not quite parallel. And I even tried to kind of bend them a little bit and get them straight. They are really easy to bend, but I think that's also part of the issue. But once you get it to where you feel like it's in there, just push it in. And it is a little bit harder than what I would like, but you know, pretty typical of a new amp to be a little bit difficult to get those in. Like I said, you can change them around if you want to put different ones in. I just wouldn't probably, you know, pull them in and out just to pull them in and out. Just because they are hard to get in and out. You might break one. They are essentially a light bulb, you know, as far as fragility. So, you know, be a little bit careful with it. But my next video, I'm going to go ahead and try to plug this thing up and get it to work. So we'll see on the next video. If you'd like to follow me, I'm on Instagram at dbsilverton. That's dbsilverton. I'm on YouTube at dbsilverton36. I had to put the 36 at the end there because somebody else already got mine. But please like and subscribe. That way I can do more of these videos for you. And we'll see you on the next one.